Thank you so much.
Joining us now, Trump 2024 senior advisor, Corey Lewandowski. Corey, great to see you. Dismissed and denigrated as just some MAGA cult not long ago. To use a religious word, what we saw was a convocation yesterday and in the days and weeks prior of people from all walks of life who voted for President Trump for a better, prosperous future. How did you put it together? Because it seemed to start in like big city bodegas and barbershops. It was everywhere.
You know, it was a message that was very clear. It didn't matter what your race, religion, or ethnicity is. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It was an opportunity for everybody to join a movement, which we're never going to see again in American history. But the movement said, let us give you more economic prosperity. Let us protect your families by closing the border and making sure that only proper illegal aliens are coming in, meaning people who have done the process properly. And we're going to get rid of those people who are in this country who shouldn't be. So if you cared about economic prosperity for your family, or safety and security for your home, or the people who you love, then you voted for Donald Trump. And you got past all the bigotry and the hatred that most of the mainstream media was trying to push on people to say that Donald Trump was a misogynist or a bigot. We saw historic numbers with the African-American community, with the Hispanic community, with young voters, with women. Kamala Harris underperformed in every single category. And if you looked, there was not one county in America where she overperformed from where President Biden was 4 years ago.
You know, Corey, 2024 is way different than 2016. Donald Trump was dealing with the FBI and the DOJ and the intelligence state, trying to foment Russia collusion, trying to actually remove him when he had fairly won. This is different. He won decisively. He won the popular vote. And so do you think Democrats and the blob, the deep state, is going to give him some grace to actually govern and try to get this country back on track?
Well, I think the military-industrial complex doesn't want Donald Trump back in the White House because he's going to make sure we've got no more wars going on. We've seen that Donald Trump has said Elon Musk may come in and cut $2 trillion of spending. That only helps every single American. The difference this time, Sean, is that when Donald Trump took over in 2017, he had never spent a day in Washington, D.C. This time we're ready. We know who the right people are to bring into the administration. We're going to be ready to go on day one, a series of executive orders and policies and procedures that we're going to have the opportunity to work with Congress, a unified Congress, it looks like. Not only do we take back the Senate, but it looks like we have an opportunity to expand the Republican majority in the House. We will not squander that opportunity over the next 2 years.
How far along, Corey, if you could give us any insight, is, say, Howard Lutnick who's kind of in charge of putting together people who will work within the Trump administration? How far along is he in putting together a list of those individuals? Because I was trying to think of who is, which job would be most important, and one of them would certainly be the Attorney General.
Yeah, listen, Howard has done a good job of starting the transition team. We've now moved to a different phase. Now that he is the president-elect of the United States, I think you'll see that transition team grow. And you know this, the president makes the final decision in everything that he does. So he will be interviewing those individuals, whether it's for attorney general or secretary of a particular department or the chief of staff, and the president will decide who's best to join. I think what you'll see over the next coming days is the president will begin to name his senior leadership team. Those people will have the opportunity to be part of the PDB or the presidential daily briefing so that they can get read in on how important our issues are around the world. The president, as you know, during the campaign chose not to receive those for fear of that being leaked out. So we are now moving from the campaign phase to the governing phase, and come January 21st, we're going to be running this government full steam ahead.
You know, it's interesting. You make a really good point. 2016, he came in, had no idea. He's well informed now. He's going to make better choices, hopefully, with the staff that he brings in that believe in putting America first. But I want to get to this. Obviously, Democrats truly believe they were going to win last night. I think 70% of Democrats thought Kamala Harris was going to win. They got creamed big time. We might use different language, and if we were back, shellacked, spanked. What went wrong for Democrats? Was it the border? Was it crime? Was it transgender? Or is it just that Donald Trump's messaging was that good?
Well, Sean, it was all of it. And not only was it those three major issues, when you looked at the country and you asked them, do you believe we're on the right track or the wrong track? 70% of Americans said our country was going in the wrong direction. So the incumbent, and in this case, Vice President Harris, who was running as the de facto incumbent, was saddled with the failures of the Biden-Harris administration. And the American people don't reward the incumbents when they think the country's moving in the wrong direction. Donald Trump laid out a very clear message. More money for you, more safety for you. And by the way, men are not going to play in girls' sports. That was an issue that really resonated with the 18 to 25-year-old females who understand that grown men should not be in the locker rooms of 15-year-old girls, and they want to make sure that their daughters are safe in those school sports. Title IX was fought for a long time, and those girls should have the same equal opportunity, and no mediocre man should be taking a job or an opportunity away from an exceptional woman.
Corey, how important was it just watching the campaign? J.D. Vance as President Trump's running mate, incredibly young, but then you also had Elon Musk and Bobby Kennedy and even Tulsi Gabbard, and really broadening just the appeal of the movement.
You know, J.D. Vance, Senator Vance, now Vice President-elect Vance, was masterful on the television shows. You know, for a man who has 2 years of experience in government service to go on those shows and just hold these hosts accountable for the lies and the propaganda they were perpetuating was incredible. And he was a real warrior for President Trump. He's going to be a phenomenal vice president. But when you look at that coalition, Elon Musk saying I can cut $2 trillion of spending. That only helps our children and our grandchildren going forward. Bobby Kennedy saying, I want a role to make sure that the toxins that are going in your body are removed. And the president has told Bobby, hey, stay away from the liquid gold, that beautiful oil under our ground, but the rest of it is all yours, Bobby. Let's go protect our beautiful children out there. You know, that coalition, former Democrats who joined us, what do we hear time and time again? The women of this country were going to determine the election. That was true. It wasn't what the mainstream media thought. They flocked to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump expanded the base. He has created a big tent party. Can Republicans keep it? That'll be for a future election, but it was impressive last night. Corey Lewandowski, always great to see you, and thanks for breaking this all down for us. We appreciate it.